All right, it's Monday, so that means it's time to talk to Mike Perkins, the head coach and GM from the Bozeman Icedogs in the NA3HL. This is the Coaches Show here on CIH Media. I'm Eric Pesolano. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Hope you had a great holiday. Coach, how was your holiday, and how'd the team celebrate before the games last weekend?
Yeah, we practiced Thursday morning. Actually had a pretty good skate, and then everybody dispersed and went their own ways. They went to their billet families, they went to other players on the team's houses. Even Coach Butner went over to the Hamilton family, who's Corey Hamilton's our medical person and does a fantastic job. So Coach Butner spent time there. Coach Burton was over with him and Lydia and their family, and Coach Jeff had both his daughter Bailey and son Brady here from the Twin Cities for Thanksgiving. So he had a good time there. Myself, Don, and Miko, we just kind of had a little to do here at our place and kept it real simple, but everybody watched football and ate food and tried to get ready for the weekend.
I love it. I saw something posted on Instagram. A couple of the boys went hiking up in the mountains in the snow. Where was that?
Yeah, that's up at Highlight Reservoir, which is about 15-20 minutes south of Bozeman, in the mountain range there. It's absolutely a beautiful area. And of course, this time of year, it was a little bit, I talked to the boys. They said it was a little rough getting up in there. There was some snow up in there. So the roads weren't exactly perfect. Good thing they had 4-wheel drive trucks to get up in there. But they got up in there and did a little hiking and had a little fun. So good to see them getting out and about. And that's probably one of the great things about Bozeman is that there's so much availability to outdoorsy type stuff, whether you like to hike, bike, hunt, fish, whatever it is. There's lots of that available.
Well, I certainly know somebody who likes to ride the bicycle every now and again.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't do enough of it, but I sure like to.
All right. Well, maybe not in the snow. We don't need you getting hurt or anything like that, even though
Yeah,
you're a pro.
definitely not in the snow.
All right. Let's talk about let's rewind a little bit to just after we chatted last Monday. The team, your team named your 3 stars of the week, and it was led by Spencer Wilkinson, who got the #1 star. But again, second straight week, an honorable mention in the NA3HL for the Frontier division. So I'm sure the team was proud to celebrate that.
Yeah, no doubt. I think that line of Porschunkula, Wilkinson, and Zarnecki have been very effective for us. And again, this weekend, and we'll talk about that here shortly. They lit the lamp quite a bit here over the weekend as well, which was awesome to see. But obviously, the prior weekend is see those guys get those kind of accolades, and Spencer's really been bringing his game to another level here. So it's very fun to watch him grow and develop. And he's a good sized player that can move his feet and has got a good shot and got a good knack for the net. So it's been real fun watching him grow.
Then you had Sam Ingram and Bryce Sturm were named #2 and #3 stars respectively for the Icedogs amongst the team for that previous week. So good to see them doing well. All right.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm just going to mention both those guys. Sam had probably one of his best weekends of the year here the past weekend, and did a fantastic job. Got us jump started a couple of times in those games. And then Bryce Sturm, of course, on the back end. Sometimes you don't always see what he's capable of doing back there, but he's clicking at about a point a game right now, and it's fun to see what he can do and see his growth, especially as a 20-year-old. And he's got some looks from some college teams at this point right now. So fun to see him get on the board and get some accolades from at least from our end, and let him know that we see what he's doing.
Yeah, definitely. Production is there. And best wishes to the boys to keep that up. All right, let's get through this as quickly as we possibly can, because I know it was a rough weekend.
Yep.
A couple of losses to Helena, and then the one on Sunday night, or last night, as at the time of this recording last night, against Great Falls. But you had mentioned your medical team. They had their work cut out for them over the weekend because they were a little shorthanded, so had to get through some bumps and bruises.
Yeah, we had a couple of suspensions and some injuries that we've been dealing with. But I got to, for the guys that played, they played their butts off. I think Friday night, the third period was very strong for us. We bounced back. We went into the locker room and just said, "Hey, let's go out and try to win the third period." We did that, set the tempo and the tone for Saturday night, and Saturday night was not a defensive coach's dream, but I think from a point stamp, category, we got on the board quite a bit, and when he scored 11 goals on Helena, I mean that's no small feat. So I think from that side of it, we did a lot of great things. We got to really shore up some things on the defensive side and keep the puck out of our back of our net. But we sure lit the lamp, which is unfortunate because that's the one thing that kind of dried up last night against Great Falls. Is we had some chances and we didn't get it in the back of the net. Kudos to their goaltender who played very well. He's beat us twice now, which we're gonna have to figure a way to solve him, and we're gonna see them Friday night coming up here this week again, and then 4 times in the second half. So we have plenty of games to rectify that with them, and they're one up on hold serve on the home ice advantage. We got the first one at home. They got both of theirs there, and we got one back here on Friday. So we got to take care of business on Friday, and that's a good hockey team, and they got some good players that can put the puck in the back of the net. And we're gonna have to really hunker down here this week. We only got one game, and really get ourselves prepared for that game Friday night.
I want to go back to Saturday night and that wild affair, the 9-7 game where you guys were down big, but you came all the way back and tied it a couple of times.
Yeah.
I just, what do you do? It's 1-1 late in the first period, and then
Yep.
there's the big penalty called on Casey Sturm. And did you see that call kind of change the way things were going? How did you feel the team was playing up until that point?
I mean, I thought we were toe to toe with them. I think they had a little bit of possession time on us to a certain extent, but we were playing right along with them and getting some chances too. I think Saturday night we actually outchanced them, and percentage wise across the board through all 3 periods. But of course, that penalty is impactful, and it's unfortunate on Casey's side of things because I know he wasn't trying to high stick it. It was called in the game a high stick. Ultimately, DOPS, the NA3HL Department of Player Safety, changed the call to head contact, and which I think is correct. Both players are going into each other, and Casey got his hands up to try to protect himself, and unfortunately, he got the better of the other player. Fortunately, he's good and he continued to play in the game. Unfortunately for us, Casey was out of the game and then sat out last night as well against Great Falls, which does not help us at all. Casey's a very good player and a very important piece to what we do, and is capable of filling in several different purposes for us, whether he's back on the back end playing defense or whether he steps up and plays center, which we have at one point we only had 2 of our 4 centers in the lineup on Friday night with Wilkinson and Ingram, and so to not have Kaunis and Wallenberg in the lineup, and then not have having Godfrey out of the lineup and Weissenberger out of the lineup. Those are impactful players for us. I think I can mention Tyler Klingbeil, who's a new player for us. I mentioned that last week that we picked him up in a trade with Yellowstone, and he's going to work out very well for us. So we're excited to get him up to speed and ready to go and find him a line. But unfortunately, right now everything's jumbled, and from game to game we're switching things around a little bit. So I think the guys, I thought they played hard all weekend. I mean, I can't discount their effort, but we got to be better than that.
On Sunday night, you had mentioned Spencer Wilkinson was out. He was dealing with some injuries too. So again, not a full squad, and you're only able to net 1. Obviously, he's not somebody who's going to score every single goal. But when you have a guy like that out of your lineup, do you feel like it affects the rest of your goal scorers? Almost kind of like, okay, we got to pick this up, but it might be a little much right now?
Yeah, that changes everything, right? There's some chemistry that's built within lines, and then all of a sudden you got to insert a player here or insert a player there. And when you start moving one player to another spot, then you got to find somebody to fill in that spot. And then it's a whole trickle down effect. So most definitely losing Spence out of the lineup on Sunday was super impactful. But then we lost Wes Innes halfway through the game. One of our top defensemen to a call, which was at the time was a 5 in a game for boarding. Fortunately, and I can announce this now since it's official, and I've received the email from the Department of Player Safety that's been rescinded. It's a standalone boarding call with no game suspension, and Wes will be back in the lineup on Friday night.
Yeah, the tough part there is you lost him for the back half of the game. Whereas, I'm not trying to get on anybody's case here,
No, but most definitely,
if it's called correctly, you still have him.
Yep, yep. I think in the heat of the moment, referees are, they got to try to make the calls that they think are best, and I understand that. They don't always go our way, and you got to deal with it. And we try to deal with it the best as possible. I think at one stage we were down to 4 defensemen for the last half of the game, which was super difficult. We were already short. I know Tyler White's been dressing and serving penalties, but he's not ready to go back yet. And is maybe, I don't want to say he's day to day, maybe week to week at this stage right now, to get him back in the lineup. Not to mention Sean Smers on the injured reserve right now. Statistically, he's our best goalie. Obviously, Matthew Ryan has been taking the lion's share of minutes on the back end, but not having Sean in the mix definitely hurts the cause, especially on a 3-game weekend. Isaac Weatherford started on Friday night and played his butt off and competes and works hard. Unfortunately, Helena got to him a little bit, and we put Matthew into the game on Friday night, and then he took the rest of the weekend. So it's tough when you have those guys out, but that's the adversity that you got to fight through the course of a season, and we just happen to be going through it right now.
It's like you and I are on the same wavelength all the time, because I was just about to ask you about the goaltenders, especially on Friday night when, like you said, Weatherford starts the game, Helena gets to him, you got to make that change. When you do make that change, what's the message to the goaltender who started the game? Was it something mechanical that you guys saw, or was it just the matter of that Helena just might have had his number?
No, I think in the moment it's, hey, let us pick you up. Let's get some energy back onto it. It's not that we didn't think you're capable of playing. It's,
Right.
We need to make a little change and go from there. As far as the technicalities of it, I'm not actually qualified to say a whole lot about goaltending. I know enough to be really dangerous, and I could really mess things up good if I started talking too much. So I leave that to Coach Buettner, who does a good job with their goalies, and he's on top of it and takes that to heart. So I know the goaltending crew will definitely be working on some stuff over the course of the week and getting ready for Friday night.
And then again, to go back on, we're jumping around here, but going back to Sunday when you lose Wilkinson, that's from one day to the next day. It's not like it was the last game of the weekend and he was going to be out for the week and you had time to prepare for it. So you're making all these adjustments just to make sure the lines are out there and you mix everybody as best you can. How do you prepare for something like that in such a short period of time?
So not only that, but Casey Sturm's DOPS report did not get to us until 3:00 in the afternoon. So we were on the road to Great Falls. We had already kind of had in our mind what we thought our lineup was going to be. And then we get the email from DOPS, and we have to change on the fly and really make some decisions on, who goes where and who does what. So, I got to give it to our guys that played yesterday and fought through it and battled through it. You got to give that some credit. I thought our penalty kill was pretty good. They were 1 for 6, but their power play is clicking at about 25% right now, and and we got on the board on the power play as well. Mason Zarnecki got a goal to give him 4 goals on the weekend. And so there's definitely some high points to the weekend, but some low points that need to be worked on.
Yeah, you talk about special teams. I mean, penalty kill was 11 out of 15. We gave a 4 out of 15 for the weekend. So that was an improvement overall, the span of 3 games. And then your
Yep.
power play was 5 out of 23. So we see those numbers starting to creep up just a touch here over this past weekend.
Yeah. Yep. So we can see here kind of headed into the second half of the season, the midpoint of the season, and we're starting to elevate in those areas, and now we need to get a few things to elevate as well. And if we can get all of it clicking at the same, it's like golf almost, right? Like you go out and you start the golf season and everything is working, and all of a sudden you can't hit your driver, but you can hit your irons and you can putt, and then you get your driver figured out, and then you can't hit your irons, and your putting's still okay. And then you get your driver and your irons down, and your putting, is off. And then by the end of the season, everything comes together and you start playing some good golf. So, hockey's kind of like the same thing, right? Trying to get all the pieces in sync. And, that's kind of where we're at right now.
Well, it's interesting now that you have one more game, well, 3 more games before the showcase is coming
Yep.
up. And then when you get to the showcase, of course, is it every one of those games is the regular season, or just a couple of those games will be part of the regular season?
Those will all be in the standings.
Yeah.
The schedule will come out after December 4th. December 4th is the cutoff for where you're at in the standings to see who you play. So that's something we're keeping an eye on, as well as see who's across the league kind of equal with us and where we kind of stack up. So yeah, we're plugging away.
Now with those and with the results of this past weekend, you're right on the edge there. You got that last playoff spot, right? You're in that number 4 spot with,
Yep.
I think Badlands right behind you by a single point.
Yep.
So when you're looking at all that, does it change the way you strategize going into a game, or you just stick with your game plan day in, day out?
No, I think adjustments happen on the fly during games. I think we have to really stick to who we are and keep our identity. We don't want to change that a whole lot. And we want to be a team that could play a 200-foot game, and that's really what we've been working on. We've had some real bright points on that end of it, and some real downsides of scoring, and then we've had some real upsides of scoring and some downsides too. So we got to get that all in sync together.
You played more games in the Frontier division so far than any other team in the division. Can you feel it? Does it feel like that's the case with, the injuries start to pile up a little bit? And, I assume you're going to be excited that there's only one game in the next 11 days for you guys.
Yeah. It's much needed. We needed a little break here. We need a good week to kind of prep for one game. And then we'll head to Sheridan and play those 2 games, come back, and then head to Minnesota. But yeah, we need a break, and it's right around the corner, but we can't get too far ahead of ourselves. We have to, remain with who we are and what we do, and keep battling, keep to it, and overcome the adversity that we're facing. And the opportunities for players to jump into some spots when somebody goes down, that's when the players that want more ice time have to step up and say, hey, I'm the guy. And then there should be some good competition when those players return to see who battles for those spots.
Well, let's hope this time off will help those players that you'd mentioned are not quite 100% get back up to 100% with not as many games jammed into a shorter period of time. So the next one up, Friday night, you're at home against Great Falls, so you'll see them for a second game in a row over the span of about 6 days or so, 5 days.
Yep.
Actually, 7:15 start time on Friday night, so 15 minutes earlier. So don't be late.
7:15 game, and that has to do with our Cats and Dogs raffle that we're going to talk about here in a few minutes. That night, both us, the Icedogs, and the MSC Bobcat men's hockey team will be playing back-to-back games. So we play at 7:15, and they're going to play immediately after us. And that's we've designed it that way so we can do our raffle that night, and We're super excited about that. The raffle is super important. I might as well jump right into it.
Yeah, go ahead. Take the floor.
Yeah. That raffle is super important for us, as we've stated, and to everybody, is that money that we raise goes directly to our ice bill. And it's a big piece of our budget on a year in, year out basis, and an important aspect to it. Our practice time and our game ice is something that if we can take that down a notch in our budget by doing some fundraising, that's what we're trying to do. So we've worked alongside of MSU in a lot of capacities, and to be able to do this fundraising alongside of them is a great opportunity for a community like Bozeman to get behind both teams.
You gotta tell the people at home what some of these prizes are, because you and I were talking before we started recording, and I was getting excited.
Well, I think a lot of people, when you see it's a super raffle, so tickets are $100. So when people see that, they're like, oh, that's quite a bit. But there are the grand, let's start at the bottom. So there's 20 $100 Bozeman downtown dollar gift cards. So that's, anybody here in Bozeman gets those. They're going to use those for any restaurant or shop in the downtown district, which is awesome. We have 5 or 6 autographed jerseys. I think there's a couple Maple Leaf jerseys. There's a couple of Vancouver Canuck jerseys. And then there's a Colorado Avalanche jersey, a Joe Sakic autographed jersey, which is in the mix there. Eric.
When you mentioned that earlier before we started the show, I started to have some thoughts.
Yep. Well, you better get in on that. And then there's a couple of, I think there's one golf trip, a couple of hotel stays here in Bozeman at a couple hotels. I think the Armory and the Residence Inn here in Bozeman, Residence Inn by Marriott. So both great hotels in the downtown area. So, maybe you could win one, if you buy a couple, you could win $100 downtown Bozeman dollars, and a couple of nights stay in downtown Bozeman, which would be pretty awesome, especially in the summertime with lots of stuff going on and concerts. And, when we have Music on Main on Wednesday nights, it's always fun. It's Wednesday or Thursday nights. And then there's a couple of TVs with sound bars. And then the 2 grand prizes. There's 2 grand prizes, 2 $6,000 build your own vacations. So that is up to you to build and design, and that's a hefty sum for a vacation. Definitely you could probably take 3, 4, 5 people on a vacation with that much money.
Yeah. Another reason why I'm thinking about getting involved. Tell the people how they can get involved with the raffle, and what's the deadline to get in.
Yep. So the drawing is this Friday, December 1st, and tickets are going to be sold through Wednesday, Thursday this week if you catch the right person. But you can contact myself, Coach Burton, Coach Butner, or any of the Bozeman Icedog hockey players to purchase those tickets.
And there you have it. And you don't even have to be at the game, just in case you can't make it, you can still get in on the raffle. Watch the game on NAHL TV at 7:15. If you can't get to Haynes Pavilion.
In fact, we'll have a schedule of the drawing for Friday night, and that will be broadcast either on Facebook Live or Instagram Live, or both. I'm not sure exactly how that's going to go down this week, but I know it will be broadcast on one of those 2.
Well, still a good reason to follow them both if you're not doing it already. Follow the Bozeman Icedogs on both IG and FB.
Yep, for both teams, it's big. I know MSU is trying to raise money for nationals right now. They're in a pretty good spot on their ranking, so they're probably really close to qualifying for nationals. So they're raising money for that, and we're raising money for our ice time.
Wonderful. Get in on this. Help out this wonderful team for a great cause. Keep that ice bill down. My goodness, it's ridiculous all around the country. You know
it is. It's crazy.
All right, Great Falls Friday night. That's the game. What are your keys to victory going into your single game this week?
We need a really good start. That's probably the biggest thing, is we need to come out early. We had a couple chances early last night, and we didn't put it in the back of the net. I think that came back to bite us, and they got not a great goal to start, and that just kind of got some energy in them. And I think if we would have scored early, that would have put them on their heels and gave us some confidence as well, and probably got us back to our scoring ways. So that's definitely one. Two, we got to be quite a bit better in our defensive zone and make sure we're blocking shots and keeping play to the outside. And then lastly, like I said, we got to capitalize on our chances.
Perfect. There you go. Keys to success. Mike Perkins. Any other thing you want to bring up here before we wrap up our weekly chat?
Man, I think we covered it all there. That was that's a lot of info there.
Yeah, we went through a lot. I just want to make sure I didn't miss anything. Well, good luck, Coach. Let's snap this 5-game skid on Friday night against Great Falls, and then maybe take a day or two off just to kind of reset and then get back after it. And then you got those 2 games against Sheridan, like you mentioned, before you head off to Blaine, Minnesota for the NA3HL Showcase, December 17th through the 19th. That schedule will be coming out here about a week or so. So keep an eye out for that on all the Icedogs social media channels and the website. Mike Perkins, he's the best.
Eric Pestilano, the best.
Good luck this weekend. You've been watching the Coaches Show here on CIH Media. Don't forget to follow us on all social media platforms at CIH Media on Instagram, X, and Facebook. You can follow the Bozeman Icedogs as well on those platforms. We'll talk to you next week, everybody. This has been the Coaches Show on CIH Media. Bye-bye.